This week we are breaking down a monologue from Brett, a cultural commentator who found this unauthorized profile of himself on a personality database.
Right, as an ENTP, Enneagram 7W8.
And the audio is him basically reacting in real time to these labels being slapped on him.
It's a fantastic concept. You've got this instant conflict built right in.
Yeah, man versus algorithm, the internet's version of you versus, well, the actual you.
Exactly.
But the execution right now, it feels like it's fighting itself. He spends the whole time just trying to debunk specific traits, and the result is more defensive than it is authoritative.
Okay, so our job is to help him flip this, turn it from a reaction into a proactive statement of who he is.
Let's get right into it. The first issue is structural. The whole piece is just a live read.
So he's just scrolling down the page.
Yep, he reads a trait, tells us why it's wrong. He sees extroversion, denies it. He sees curiosity, denies that. Avoidance of pain, denies that too.
It creates this whack-a-mole dynamic.
That's the perfect term for it.
You hit one mole, another one pops up. And the problem with whack-a-mole is that it's just exhausting to watch or, to listen to.
It is. If he spends 20 minutes just saying, I'm not that, I'm not this, I'm not that, the listener doesn't actually learn who he is.
They only learn who he isn't. And that puts you on the back foot as an audience member. There's no positive story to latch onto.
It's just a list of grievances.
But hold on, isn't there a certain authenticity to that? He's discovering it live. If he restructures it, doesn't he lose some of that raw energy?
That's a fair question, but I think clarity is more important here than raw reaction. The live format is actually burying his best stuff.
How so?
Well, he drops this amazing little anecdote about being a master of the Irish goodbye.
Right, leaving parties without telling anyone.
And he uses that to push back on the extrovert label. But then, 5 minutes later, he's talking about skateboarding for 30 years to refute the idea he avoids pain.
And because they're separated, they just feel like isolated data points.
Exactly. They don't build on each other. It's like he's giving us a grocery list. Extroversion, pain, Satan, K-pop. It's a jumble.
We want a recipe, not just the ingredients.
We want the meal. So the suggestion is to move from that chronological list to thematic buckets. He needs to take control and group these reactions himself.
Okay, so give me an example. What would a bucket look?
All right, so you take the extroversion point and the social connectivity point. Instead of hitting them one by one, group them under a theme. Call it something like the paradox of the public introvert.
I like that. That sounds like a chapter title. It has weight.
In that section, he can combine the master of the Irish goodbye story with his admission that his job requires what he calls quasi-extroversion.
Oh yeah, he mentions leaving industry events with the same number of contacts he started with.
Right, which he knows is a bad sign professionally, but if you group those ideas together, you're not just saying, I'm not an extrovert, you're giving us a really nuanced look at the tension between professional persona and private self.
That's so much richer. It goes from, I don't like party, to something like, I perform extroversion for my job, but my actual self is solitary.
That's the so what factor, and you can do the same thing for the pain section.
Which is currently kind of buried in the middle.
Parried, but you could create a thematic bucket called, say, Stoicism and growth, and make that incredible skater anecdote the anchor.
Let's talk about that skater story, because that might be the strongest image in the whole piece.
I think it is.
He says something like, pain has been a regular part of my day for a very, very long time. If you are feeling pain, you're moving towards achieving.
It's a profound thought, but right now it's just a reaction to an Enneagram bullet point. In a thematic structure, that becomes the headline. He can show that he doesn't avoid pain, he actively utilizes it.
Okay, so what about the weirder stuff? The comparisons to Satan, Nick Fuentes, the K-pop stars?
It's funny, but it's distracting.
Yeah, it kind of throws the whole tone off right at the end.
Group all that into one short segment. Call it the absurdity of algorithms or something. Use it to show how unreliable the database is, but don't let it steal the focus from the real philosophical points.
So bottom line, he takes control of the outlet. He stops letting the website direct the show.
He has to. Right now, the website is the protagonist and he's just reacting. He needs to be the protagonist.
Which brings us to a second and maybe trickier issue, his tone. Specifically, the way he talks about his own intelligence. I really struggled with. The self-deprecation it's heavy. He says things like, my brain feels absolutely dead. Maybe I'm just dumb.
Yeah, and that he lacks curiosity. It feels like a defense mechanism. He says, I don't think very many people actually accuse me of thinking too much.
But isn't that just him trying to be relatable? Nobody likes a know-it-all.
There's a really fine line between humble and incompetent. And he's a cultural commentator. If he keeps insisting he isn't a thinker, why should we trust him when he makes these really profound points later?
About refusing to blackpill or the hubris of global activism?
Those are high-level arguments. But if you've just spent 10 minutes telling me your brain is dead, I might subconsciously dismiss your analysis.
He's cutting the legs out from under his own argument.
He's sabotaging his own authority. So the suggestion is to reframe this ignorance not as a deficit, but as a strategic choice, as discipline.
Okay, so how does he do that without sounding, arrogant?
Let's take the curiosity point. He says, I wish I had more of a thirst to understand. My brain feels absolutely dead.
Right.
Instead of framing it as, I can't think, he could frame it as, I choose what to think about.
So something more like, I focus my mental energy so intensely on specific cultural battles that I have no room left for trivial curiosity.
That's it. It shifts the narrative from, I'm too tired to learn, to, I am disciplined with my focus.
And what about the part where he says he doesn't get the personality lingo, the NEOG system or whatever?
Same move. He needs to flip the script. Instead of, I don't get this stuff, maybe I'm just dumb, imagine if he said something like, I'm rejecting the premise of this acronym entirely. Human complexity doesn't fit into a 4-letter box.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like a cultural commentator. The other version sounds like a confused student.
Exactly.
We should probably keep the humor, though. The line about selling his bathwater like Belle Dauphine is just funny.
Oh, absolutely. Keep the bathwater, keep the joke about having no contacts in his phone. That stuff humanizes him. But you can be funny without calling yourself stupid.
Laugh at the situation, not at your own intelligence.
Right. Laugh at the algorithm thinking he's Belle Dauphine. That's where the comedy is.
It's about commanding the space. If you're behind the mic, you're the authority. Even if you're confused, you need to be confused authoritatively.
And that authority is so crucial because he actually stumbles onto this really significant philosophy in the middle of all this, which is our third point, significance and relevance.
The so what of it all.
The so what here is huge, but it's buried. The most valuable idea in the entire piece is his belief in tending one's own garden.
Focusing on family, friends, things you can actually control.
He says something like, it's always take care of what's in your own yard. It's a form of hubris to believe that we can care about the entire world.
That's his core belief system. That's the lens for his whole worldview.
But in the current draft, it just comes up as a reaction to the label optimism. The database says, you're an optimist, and he goes, no, I just focus on my own yard.
It feels like he discovered his own philosophy by accident while answering a quiz question.
He's letting the website set the agenda again. So we need to elevate that philosophy, make the anti-label the frame for the entire piece.
So instead of reacting to the database, he uses the database to prove his philosophy.
Yes. Start the episode with the philosophy. Don't start with the website. Start with his line, I hate the idea of being boxed into something because it limits your potential.
That's the hook. I hate being boxed in. Then you introduce the database as the thing that's trying to box him in.
Exactly.
And when he gets to avoidance of pain, he can explicitly contrast their definition with his. They call it pain avoidance. He should relabel it pragmatic stoicism.
I love that term, pragmatic stoicism.
He has that great line, I refuse to acquiesce to a world where it's all going to be bad. That should be a headline concept. He isn't avoiding pain, he's refusing despair.
Which is a massive distinction.
And there's another connection here. He talks about the hubris of global activism. Can we connect that to the database itself? You absolutely should. I mean, think about it. Global activism is the hubris of thinking you can fix strangers you've never met.
And the personality database is the hubris of thinking you can diagnose strangers you've never met.
It's the exact same impulse, projecting control where you have none.
If he draws that parallel, the piece becomes this unified critique of modern hubris. It stops being about Brett reacts to a website and becomes an analysis of the modern urge to categorize and control.
That turns a reaction video into a video essay. It gives it real weight.
It does, which means we have to land the plane properly. And right now, the landing gear is a little wobbly.
The ending, the audience alignment.
Yeah. He currently ends by asking, would you submit yourself to this? And then he pivots to talking about DNA companies like 23andMe.
It felt like a standard tech privacy end. And after everything we just talked about, identity, stoicism, the Irish goodbye, ending on do you use 23andMe? It's just a letdown.
It's generic. It ignores all the unique personal ground he just covered. It's like having a gourmet meal and then being offered a tic tac.
So we need to realign the closing questions, challenge the listener.
Mirror his own journey. So instead of, would you submit your DNA? What if he asked, what label has the world tried to put on you that you know is wrong?
Oh, that's good. That immediately invites a story from everyone listening. Everyone has one of those.
And then challenge them to apply his Gator philosophy. Ask, where in your life are you avoiding pain that you should actually be embracing for growth?
That's a much harder and much more interesting question.
It respects the audience. It assumes they're capable of that introspection. He should shift the call for comments from, tell me what you think about this website, to tell me how you define yourself in opposition to how the world sees you.
The bathwater joke at the end is funny. He should keep that, but it can't be the final thought.
Right. The joke can be the dessert, but the main course of the conclusion has to be that deeper question of identity.
So this really ties the whole critique together. It's all about moving from a passive reading to an active assertion of self.
Let's wrap it up with a clear path forward for him. Goal number 1, take control of the narrative.
No more whack-a-mole.
No more whack-a-mole. Move from a linear list to thematic buckets. We called them the public introvert, Stoicism and growth, and the absurdity of algorithms.
Second, own the intellect. Frame the I don't know moments as conscious choices about focus, not as deficits in intelligence.
And finally, make that Stoic philosophy of local control the anchor of the whole piece. It's the lens, not just a random observation.
I really want to hear the version of this where that skater Stoic persona is fully realized.
Me too. Brett, here's the specific instruction. Take your 3 strongest anecdotes, the skater, the Irish goodbye, and the refusal to black pill, and build the entire monologue around those 3 pillars.
And just use the database as a quick prompt, not the whole paragraph. Just, they called me a hedonist who avoids pain, and then bam, launch into the skater story.
Exactly. They called me a social butterfly, and launch into the Irish goodbye. That puts you in the driver's seat. We look forward to hearing the rewrite.
It's gonna be great.
Until next time.